So today I want to talk to you about how do you handle the pain of change? Because let's face it, when you decide to change something, it's going to be painful regardless. And here's why. When we decide that we want to create a different reality, now that reality could be that we want to drop a few pounds, it could be that we want to change our career, go to the next level in our business, find a new partner, whatever it is that we're experiencing, we have to remember that the situation that we're in now has been through a series of habitual beliefs and behaviours. They weren't habit to start with, but over a period of time, the things that you're doing day in, day out, the things that you're thinking that are creating your actions, that have created your reality, they become comfortable. Now, you might not be particularly happy with the outcome. You might be uncomfortably comfortable or comfortably uncomfortable where you're at, but nonetheless, it's easy because you don't have to think about doing everything different. It's so habitual. Your subconscious takes over 95% of the time, and effectively, you're like a robot and you're just doing these things unconsciously, minute by minute, day by day. And the reality is that's how most people live their lives. They haven't learned to master their mind, so they are a servant to what's going on up here. And when you start to decide that actually I don't want to be a servant anymore, I want to be the master of my mind, I want to create how I want to feel, I want to use my mind to create the reality that I want to have, invariably you're going to need to start making some changes. So the first thing that we really have to do is that in order for us to be able to handle the pain of change is number one, to accept that, guess what? Pain is inevitable, right? You can choose to hide away from the pain and continue to live Groundhog Day. Maybe put a cap or a limit on your sense of happiness and fulfillment. Maybe live on a lower sense of kind of joy and full engagement in your life because it is a bit scary to be over there. Or you can learn to start developing the courage and the resilience to say, okay, I don't know what this is going to look like and I don't know how it's going to feel. It's pretty damn scary now, but you know what? I don't want to be here anymore. And it's not about running away from something. It's not about feeling like we've got to we're not being ungrateful for where we're at, right? We're just accepting that something or some things in our life need to change, and we have to be the ones to decide what that looks like and how it's going to happen. So in that first step, the first step of dealing with the pain of change is to accept that it's going to be uncomfortable, because right now you're a series of learned habits and behaviors. But once you accept that, what you also have to accept is that when you start to make those changes, when you start to do the new thing day after day, week after week, month after month, it won't take that long before that's not difficult anymore. You know, there's that saying, isn't there? Well, it's easier said than done. And it's one of those sayings that's quite funny because, like, literally everything is easier said than done. If I even think about standing up out of my chair right now, it's easier for me to think that than it is for me to do it. So that really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But we use that as a reason all the time to not do stuff. It's easier said than done. Well, yes, of course it is. That makes total sense. So one of the things that we can do with that is, in that acceptance that the pain is inevitable, we can have a look at how can I minimize that pain? What can I do to kind of navigate through that with the least possible like eye squinting that I can? And one of the things is that we can reduce what we call the activation energy around that. Now, what does that mean? Let's use going to the gym as an example. If you're going to the gym and you want to go at the end of your day, the end of your work day, you know, you could reduce the activation energy by putting your clothes in the car so that you don't even come home when you finish work. You go from work to the gym and you get your workout done. If you work from home or you have to come home first, have your gym kit ready with your water bottle, with your earphones, with your music, and you just get going. You could have an accountability buddy, because then it's not just about you. you've promised somebody some support, and you better show up for that, because otherwise you're not just letting yourself down, you're letting somebody else down that needs you. So it's the same with, say, food preparation, right? Prepare your food a couple of days in advance. Make sure you've got your food shopping in. Get an online shop. This is all about the strategy and the planning. But the overwhelming thing that you're trying to achieve here is, I want to make this pain as manageable as I possibly can. If you're going to be doing something in your business, right? Say, for instance, you've got to start doing, someone said to you, right, you know what, you've got to start doing lives because video is the way forward, and you are crapping yourself about that. Well, how could you build up towards that? Maybe what you might want to do for a few series is just do a few audio series to get used to talking. I'm sure you can see that I have no issue with that, right? But you know, you might want to do some audios and build up to the video. You might do some audios and then you might do some pre-recorded, and then you might do audio, pre-recorded, and then live. So reduce the activation energy by starting with the acceptance that if you really want something, you want to achieve that change, it's going to be hard purely on the basis that it's going against all of your current habitual actions. And here's the thing that happens with that. Even the minute you start talking to yourself about doing something new, your body, your brain, which is wired to keep you safe, fires off all these little messages like red alert, red alert, red alert. She's thinking about doing something stupid. This doesn't feel good. Uh-oh. And all these things go on in your body. This chemical soup gets created, which tells your brain that you're in this kind of fight or flight place. And the easiest way to stop that happening is to say, don't worry, I just won't do it. I won't go to the gym. I will have that pizza. I won't ask for the sale. You know, I won't ask that bloke out or that woman out or whatever, because immediately, okay, it's like red alert goes off. Okay, she's come to her senses, ladies, you know, she's come back to normal. So even just thinking about it starts to create all this stuff. So why would we put ourselves through that? It's just a safety mechanism that's a little bit outdated. And when you reduce the activation energy, you accept the challenge with the pain, and you make it as easy as you possibly can, then you know that after a little while, it won't have the same response because you're used to doing it. Just before I move on to the second step of this kind of like dealing with the pain of change, I want to just remind you that there was for a long time we was told that it takes 21 days to create a new habit. Then it was like 30 days. Then it was 30 days kind of sort of installs it, but you need 90 days to really make it like, so it's part of your routine. If you read the book Atomic Habits, what he actually says is nothing to do with the time, it's everything to do with the frequency. And that makes total sense. When we're looking at belief change and we're talking about things that we can actually do for ourselves, repetition of new thought and new behavior creates new beliefs. Now, if you're only repeating a new behavior once a week, will that be installed slower or more quickly than somebody that's repeating that behavior pattern every single day? Rhetorical question. Of course, it's the latter. Okay, so the more you're doing this thing, the more that you're showing up at the gym, the more clean food you're eating, the more you tell your children that you love them, the more you read, the more you get up earlier. Eventually, the more you repeat it, it becomes just something that you do. It's somebody that you are. You're just somebody that does these things. So acceptance and reduce the activation energy, make it as easy as you can, and trust that after a little while you won't have that same response. And then when you start to see the changes that you want to see, boom, the magic happens, because now you've got this feedback that says, oh, this stuff actually works. And you know what? I feel pretty good about that. So that's the first step, is acceptance. The second step is being aware of the pain that you are most trying to avoid. Now, there are 3 types of pain predominantly that we're trying to avoid, and I'm going to describe them to you now. You may be trying to avoid all of them, but there may be one that really stands out for you. Now, the first pain that we're trying to avoid, or that you may be trying to avoid, is what we call the loss pain. So what might you lose if you do this new thing? There is no limit to what you think you might lose, and logically it may make no sense whatsoever. But to your subconscious, to your learned behaviors, it feels like, you know, literally that you're having life taken away from you. So loss can be things like, you know, oh my God, like I love my Friday night pizza and, you know, 6-pack. I love that because you see, the thing is, it's not just the thing, it's the emotion. It's the emotion that you get anchored into when you do that thing. So for you, your Friday night pizza and beer might be like, you know, you're kicking off your shoes, it's the end of the week, you're chilling out, you're with the one that you love, your kids are there or whatever, you know, and it's like, yes, I've got the weekend to myself. So the pizza and the beer and that sense of freedom, they're all wrapped up in one thing. So when you say, I'm going to swap that for a 5-mile run, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't really sound quite as good until you've done it enough times and the endorphins get going and you go, that's way better than that pizza, which makes me feel really bloated and frankly quite sick. Okay, so it could be something as simple as that. It could be an awareness that if you pursue your business, you may lose friendships because they don't support you, they don't understand you, they're not in the same circles as you anymore, and you need to kind of be okay with that. Maybe you feel like you might lose an identity. You kind of get this quite a lot of people that have lost a lot of weight. They sort of feel like they, you know, they were. I'll give you an example. So when I describe my younger self, I jokingly always say like I was the fat kid. I was the fat kid at school. I was the fat member of the family, and I was a twin. She was a skinny one, and I was the fat one. And I kind of do that jovially, but you know, it was a little bit painful to be the fat kid, right? So, but if you stay that way for a long period of time, and then you get to the stage where you don't want to be that person anymore, what part of that identity is going to disappear with you? Like, it can be a little bit like a grief, like a mourning, because she was part of you. She got you to where you are. Like, she deserves a high five, but you have to let that side of you go. Maybe what you might lose is where you're living. Maybe you got to walk away from a relationship. Maybe you got to close a business down. Who's done that? I have, because it just didn't fit anymore, and it was like, oh, what if I do this and it doesn't work? So loss pain is real. So think about what you think you might be losing and try and have a little conversation with yourself around that. The next pain that we might have is the process pain. This is probably one of the most common, right? Can I really do what it takes? Now, I see this a lot in the business world with the business owners that I work with. I'm always asking them to raise their ambition, think bigger, go for the stars, because we can have whatever we want. We can achieve whatever we want, but we have to develop this in order for us to go to achieve it. So, but then it's like, well, oh my God, what have I got to do to make that happen? I've got to do sales funnels. I've got to be okay with selling. I've got to put my prices up. I've got to get organized. I've got to get up early. I've got to sort the kids out, la, 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 la. And then you can literally see their heads start to spin around and smoke comes out of their ears because it feels like it's way too much. And it can be scary. These are where a lot of the beliefs come up about, I don't know enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not clever enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not enough. On and on and on it goes. So the process pain is real. Do I really have what it takes to get that outcome that I want? You know, do I want to wait that long for it because this could take forever? There's so many more people that are better than me, yada, yada, yada. So the process pain is about, do you think that you have what it takes to have the courage and the tenacity and the dedication to do that journey to get to that end point? And then finally, we have the outcome pain. What if I do all that and the grass isn't greener? That would just suck, wouldn't it? What if I did all this thing and I changed my life and I lost my friends and I did this and I was getting up early and I whatever, and then nothing really changes? Or what if I do all that and, oh my God, even worse, it doesn't feel like I want it to feel? Here's the thing. You have to have the courage and the faith to act courageously towards a dream that you cannot see and you cannot guarantee. You have no actual real concept of the exact outcome because the universe kind of pretty much takes care of that if you're in alignment. And none of us can guarantee an outcome for anything. You could train your backside off to win a race and someone could still beat you, right? You could create the best sales funnel in the world and it might bomb. You could set up the most amazing date night and it could be a complete disaster. We don't know. All we do know is how we can show up with our intention So what do we want to achieve out of this? Who do we want to be while we're doing it? What would be our desired outcome? But you know what? If it doesn't work out that way, I'm going to just switch direction and I'm going to try a different way. But for some people, the outcome pain of what could go wrong, what if it doesn't work, is enough to keep them where they are. So when we're looking at that, so the second stage is the awareness of the pains that you might be kind of like functioning under. Loss pain, process pain, outcome pain. The final step in being able to handle the pain of change, because you want that change, is that we have to acknowledge our current limitations, but we do not give into them. I'm going to repeat that. We must acknowledge our current limitations, but we do not give into them. We do not define what is possible by where we're at and what our current limitations are. It's just an opportunity for us to say, I need that resource. I need that finance. I need that conversation. I need that support. I need that bit of software, blah, blah. You see what I'm saying? So there is nothing to stop you making some form of progress somehow towards that bigger outcome. Once you've acknowledged those current limitations, there's two things that I want you to do. I want you to acknowledge the consequences of not making that change. Who is going to suffer if you don't make the change that you're talking about? Because I'm pretty sure it's not just you. Are there people relying on you? Are there people that want to really see you succeed? Are you serving a community? Do you have a bigger ambition to help something that's way bigger than you? And if you don't make this change, who might suffer? That's a really hard one to sit with, right? Because we can get so absorbed in our journey that we think, okay, so if I let this go down the toilet and I don't really go for this and I'm then miserable, oh God, I might really be mean to my kids or to my spouse, right? Or if I don't make this payment, then I can't send my kids to private school. Or if I don't do this, then, I might not be here in 5 years' time because I might get diabetes or I might get some kind of health-related disease because I'm not looking after my health. There is so many people that are impacted by the way that we show up. And just as we can be a positive influence by choosing to be the lighthouse of people, we can also really kind of let people down a little bit and not let them be their best selves because we're not being our best selves. So really acknowledge the consequence of you not making the changes that you know in your heart you want to make. And the next thing is to really acknowledge the benefits of you doing that. Will you be healthier? Will you be happier? Will you be a better person? Will you be able to impact more lives? Will you, when you're taking your last breath, will you go, boom, own that one, right? I don't know about you, but that's where I want to be. I want to get to the end of my days and think I totally owned every single freaking day. And I lived my best life, whatever that looks like to you. Right, whatever that looks like to you. And that's where you've got to get really clear, because it's not about somebody else's vision of your dream or success. It's your vision of your dream and your success. And that's all being wrapped up in my free training, which you can join on the link somewhere around this video. The bonus module 1 is already up, and we're gonna keep going with that. So come and join me with that one. But really, it's, I wanted to encourage you. I see so many people living this kind of constricted life. They're not fully engaged in their emotions. They're overtaken with feelings of overwhelm and anxiety and lack and fear and just, I want to use the word depressed, but not as in like depressed, but as in they're like pushed down. Well, that's not our natural state of being. We've been taught that it is. And I'm on a mission to really turn that around and say that every single day we can get a choice, but it's the rehearsal of those new thoughts and those new actions that I told you about right at the start. And as I finish this up, I wanted to have a quick word with you about the word should. So lots of people say we should remove the shoulds, but here's the thing. Oh, I really should go to the gym. Yes, you should. Get off your ass and go. Oh, I really should eat better this week. Yeah, you should. Right? You should, because it's benefiting you now and for the long term. You should do that if you want that outcome. When people say, remove the shoulds, Sometimes there can be a bit of a reason, i.e. excuse, to not do something. Well, I'm getting rid of all the shoulds in my life. Okay. But maybe we need to kind of rework that. It's a little bit like when we change self-discipline for self-love, what would you do differently? If you stopped thinking that eating well was all about self-discipline and it was all about self-love, would it make it easier for you? If you knew that getting more sleep was an act of self-love and not self-discipline, would you do it? You see, it goes back to how our mind makes meaning, and we give things the meaning that suit us. And when we have the courage to start to change that so it suits an outcome, we then have the courage to take the action, and we will cha-cha with the challenge, right? We'll see the pain, we'll acknowledge it, we'll accept it. We're going to do it anyway, because now you've got a system. You're going to do the acceptance, you're going to do the awareness, and you're going to do the acknowledgement, and you're going to take steps anyway. I hope you found that helpful. Thank you for watching. It's been an absolute joy. Remember, get your name down for the free and clear training, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.